Good afternoon, folks. Good morning, good evening, when or wherever you welcome to the stream. I hope everyone is all right. And before we start, I would just like to apologize if I look a bit more mechanic or a bit more, um, let's call it non-active, um, because I'm going through a rough part in my life. I had to drop off a family member at the hospital this morning. So, as you might understand, I'm very worried. I'm very preoccupied with the entire situation because this, I won't be talking too much about it, but this is basically one of the only persons in this world that I really care about. I had to leave her at the hospital this morning. I know that she's in capable hands. I know I cannot do anything by being there. I know I have to wait until tomorrow to go, but still, it's harsh. But that said, I'm going to make this stream because I need to put my mind in somewhere else. I need to distract my mind, and this will help me. Now, folks, in the end of the stream, I am going to be talking a bit about the United States and the 250 years celebration that happens today, and let me just the volume here. Sorry, I'm sorry, it's not. It's a bit too low. Is my voice that's a bit more high? As I was saying, I am going to be talking about the United States of America and the 250 years and all of that, but I only will do it in the end of the stream. Now, folks, let's start with the first news piece that I have here. And sorry, hello, Billy. Let's start with the first news piece that I have here. When Ireland is the rotation presidency of the EU, that made it worse. Let's try. 1 minute, please. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry, folks. How's that, Billy? Is the sound better? I hope so. I'm sorry. Now, as I was saying, now we are going to Ireland is going to assume the presidency of the EU, and I thought it would be a good idea to watch a video where both the representative of Ireland and Ursula von der Leyen, thank you, Billy, Ursula von der Leyen, they are going to be talking a bit about this entire business of the rotation presidency in the EU, which is something that is very interesting, and that's a lot of people outside of the EU, they don't really know how this works. They think it's just Brussels ruling over everyone, and that is really not the case. So for now, folks, let's watch this video to allow me also to collect my ideas a bit more, and we'll continue with the stream. Now, let's watch.
Dever maithas a cháirde agus tá míle fáilte romhan seo go dtín eile maxima ag gláis na hOllscoile Chorcaigh. Beidh cúpla focail againn ón Taoiseach ar dús agus an sin ón Uachtarán von der Leyen. We'll have some remarks from the Taoiseach and then from President von der Leyen.
Uachtarán von der Leyen, Ursula, tá fáilte mhórrót go héiring agus go cathair áling Chorcaigh. Is priviléid agus onóir mhór de éiring Uachtaránacht chorla an Aontais Eorpaigh a ghlacha den 8 uair imlíana. As seo go gceann sé bhí beidh éire ag obair in nglú chóir le gach báilstát den Aontas Eorpach, agus míad ag saothú in aondí chun aghaidh a thabhairt ar na dúchláin atá roimh an Aontas Eorpach, agus chun feabhsanna cearta a bhaint amach do Héal or Saránach. I would like to thank you, Ursula, and the College of Commissioners for 2 very constructive days of discussions here. And I hope that you and your Commission will remember with fondness your visit here to the beautiful city of Cork and its historic university. I would like to thank UCC President John O'Halloran and all at UCC for the very warm welcome. Yesterday we had the opportunity to pay a courtesy call on the Lord Mayor of Cork. And we also visited the Tyndall National Institute to see the pioneering work underway across several strategic sectors, including semiconductor fabrication. And we saw it firsthand. The purpose of your visit was, of course, to discuss Ireland's presidency programme and priorities. Our work will be focused on the 3 themes of competitiveness, values and security. We are agreed that there is an urgent need to improve Europe's competitiveness and productivity. In the One Europe, One Market roadmap, we have the plan for how we are going to get there. We will prioritise work on reducing regulatory and administrative burdens, deepening the single market, championing strong trade, accelerating decarbonisation while ensuring affordable energy, and driving the digital and AI transformation. At a time of increased threat and conflict, we need to work harder together to protect our citizens, our democracies and our European way of life. As Presidency, we will work to safeguard the core values on which the European Union is built: freedom, democracy, equality, the rule of law and respect for human rights and dignity. I know that strengthening online safety, in particular the safety of children online, is close to your heart. I look forward to the outcome of the work of the special panel on child safety online, which you have convened. The Irish Presidency will work with you on taking this work forward. The people of Ukraine have endured more than 4 years of brutal Russian aggression. They deserve a just and lasting peace. When I met with President Zelensky earlier this week, I reiterated the commitment of the Irish Presidency to stand steadfastly with Ukraine. We will also work to help those countries, including Ukraine, who wish to join the European Union to advance along the path to membership. Ireland has benefited greatly from our membership, and those that are ready to join should be allowed to do so. We will work to strengthen the European Union's role as a principled global actor, including promoting active engagement in support of lasting peace and security in the Middle East. I look forward to the Commission's presentation of options later this month on trade with Israeli settlements. For the European Union to meet the ambitions of its citizens in the years to come, it needs a budget equal to the task. We are committed to doing all we can to reach agreement in the Council by the end of the year on the European Union's next long-term budget. We are both under no illusion as to how much work is required to achieve this, and I look forward to your support and cooperation to achieve our shared goal. Ireland has set an ambitious agenda for our presidency's term in office. Delivering on these objectives will require partnership and close cooperation. I look forward to working closely with President von der Leyen and the College of Commissioners on advancing what I know is a shared agenda. I would like to thank you once again, Ursula, and the entire College of Commissioners for your visit to Cork this week and for the very constructive discussions that we have had.
Thank you very much, Taoiseach, dear Micheál, for welcoming us indeed in your native Cork. And thank you very much for the visit over 2 days and the intense talks we had. This was excellent. And thank you very much also for bringing me to the Tyndall National Institute and its semiconductors labs. That was absolutely amazing to see that. For me, it perfectly sets the tone of the Irish presidency. And the research powerhouse that Tyndall is, it's an innovation powerhouse. Europe is bridging a gap we have struggled long with. We have to move from the test to the scale, and that was yesterday also the motto at the visit, that they had said we have all the ingredients that are necessary. We have the talent, we have the innovation, the research and the development, we have the infrastructure, we have the capital, if we get a capital market union. But what we now need is scale. And I think this, as I said, sets the tone for this presidency. This also brings me to our first shared priority, a competitive European economy that is good jobs for Europe. The task ahead is clear. Outside our borders, we must keep moving on diversification. This year has already delivered one trade agreement breakthrough after another, and the Irish presidency will be central to getting deals with India and Mexico operational at record speed, so that Europe can trade more with trusted partners, that is, growing our exports while very crucially reducing our dependencies. The more we are diversified, the less we are dependent on a single supplier. Of course, at home we must keep building the industrial capacity we need to create jobs and growth and to better withstand shocks. For this, we have our roadmap, the One Europe, One Market. As you've said, all three institutions have committed to it to deliver till the end of 2027. This roadmap spans over 18 months, so it is about delivery and it is about urgency. We have several key proposals to see through across the clean and digital transition. The list is very long, so I will highlight just a few of them. On the clean energy side, the Commission will table a new energy package in July. It will include a target to boost electrification in Europe and the modernization of our emission trading system, the ETS review, as you know. On the digital side, we have our tech sovereignty package. We need it to strengthen Europe's capacity in tech, from chips to AI, from cloud to language models. It's quite a big menu that we have to work on. Then we have a number of horizontal priorities to make Europe the best place to innovate, to invest and to grow. We must keep working hard on making life easier for business. Our presidency's leadership will be essential to deliver on our simplification agenda. You know the famous omnibuses. 6 have already reached the finish line, but 4 now have to come to the finish line during this presidency. And the same goes for EU Inc. We discussed it, the 28th regime, our single rule book for innovative companies. We should aim for an agreement before the end of this year, because entrepreneurs have no time to lose. They are really waiting for this EU Inc. And you've committed to making the Savings and Investment Union a reality. That is very much welcome. We hear it over and over again. Capital market, we need to end the fragmentation of the capital market. Then there is a lot of capital that is available for our startups, and for that we need the Savings and Investment Union. My second point is on security. Security underpins everything we do. As a matter of fact, many of the technologies that power our economy are also critical to our security. Semiconductors are the perfect example, which is why Ireland's contribution here is so important. Security also means taking more responsibility for our own defence. So we welcome your decision to increase defence spending by 55% by 2030. During your presidency, we will continue to advance Europe's defence readiness, that spans till 2030. Given the increasingly threatening landscape, our defence readiness is critical to deter adversaries. This includes building up capabilities through our SAFE programme. SAFE is the €150 billion programme for joint procurement. So far, we have signed in record time loan agreements with 10 member states worth €100 billion. And this enables the member states to undertake the joint defence projects through common procurement. Of course, while stepping up on defence in Europe, we continue to support our friends in Ukraine. Already from the 90 billion Ukraine loan, we have disbursed more than 3 billion in budget support and the first part of the 6 billion for the air defence. And at the same time, we are working with Ukraine to build a more structural defence industrial partnership with Ukraine's defence industry so that we can benefit from their defence industrial innovation and their experience on the battlefield. My third point is the next long-term budget. In June, the Council reached an important agreement on the architecture of the MFF. This is a big step forward. We have now agreed on the architecture. It's set in stone. Now we have to fill the negotiation box. The next level is the right financing, and we should aim for a revised negotiation box for the October European Council, including a shared understanding on how we want to finance the next MFF. This is essential so that the next budget is ready to deliver from the 1st of January 2028. This will, as you said, require a lot of hard work. We know it, and of course we will support you every step of the way. To put the bar even higher, Ireland successfully brokered an MFF agreement in 2013, so we know you can make it, and therefore we count on you. My fourth point is on housing. Europe is facing a housing crisis, a crisis of affordability, access and quality. Our citizens are calling for solutions and we are responding. Under your presidency, we aim to launch a European Housing Alliance, and we will convene a high-level European Housing Summit. This is one of the defining social challenges of our time, and our people expect us to deliver. My last point is on enlargement. Ukraine and Moldova have opened their first accession cluster. That's a big step forward. Albania and Montenegro continue to progress. I very much welcome your strong support for this, as you've just described, merits-based process. This includes the intention to complete accession negotiations with Montenegro till the end of the year. We have every reason to trust Ireland on this because, as you said, after all, the historic 2004 enlargement was agreed under the Irish presidency. And Ireland's own story reminds us why enlargement is one of Europe's smartest investments. When Ireland joined the European Community in 1973, the GDP per capita was around half of the European average. Today, it is roughly double the European average. So you were catching up, and now you're leading the way. That's amazing. And there's hardly a more convincing argument for enlargement than that. So, dear Michal, thank you again. Ireland has always had a talent for turning ambition into achievement. I'm confident your presidency will do the same for Europe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
The national broadcaster here.
All right, folks. Now they were going to do the interviews and all of that, but I think it's very important for Ireland to take the lead, so to speak, in the presidency, immediately attacking all of these important issues that are very important, which is the independence of Europe in everything from AI to media to weapons procurement to economy to all of that. This is very important because this has a key effect in Europe and in the daily life of all of us Europeans, and it will even help the United Kingdom. You have to understand this. If the EU is stable and if the EU is richer, the UK will also be better. And I hope that the United Kingdom, or whatever succeeds the United Kingdom, is able to join the EU. But let me continue with this reasoning because this is very important. There is a lot of economic potential in Ireland that is absolutely key to block, so to speak. Let's call it block. It's not the correct term, but let's call it block. To block the influence of American media and money. You need money to fight money, and there is a lot of it in Ireland. There is also a lot of it in France and in Germany. You have stupidly wealthy countries like Liechtenstein and Luxembourg and all of that. You have Spain. You have a lot of countries with a lot of wealth. But in Ireland's case, this is business wealth. This is investment in everything, in every step of the way. These are people that are used to go into the big arenas in the world and fight it off. And so, to me, this is my humble opinion, I think we are going to see the pivotal moment in change in the EU during this presidency. You are going to see a lot of things getting unblocked, mechanisms and all of it. You are going to see someone that a presidency that wants things to go faster, and this is very important because if you look across the pond to the United States, you see a country that is completely unbalanced. And I know people saying, "Oh, the Democrats are going to win the primaries," and all of that. Again, I will talk about this in the end of the stream. The Democrats are going to win the primaries. Everything is going to be all right, but no. I'm sorry, but no. Okay, if you think that, stop thinking. Stop thinking that. The only thing you can wish for, if the Democrats regain power in the houses and all of that, the only thing, the presidency, the only thing you can wish for is for some kind of normal country you can deal with. But this is not the United States that played the role that it played in the past. For many reasons, again, I will talk about this in the end of the stream because I have a lot to say. But that United States is not going to return. Now, I have a couple of more news for us to watch. I try to give you a perspective. Again, I'm sorry if I'm a bit mechanic. In the beginning of the video, I explained why I am like this way. Sorry. But let's watch a couple of videos. Let's talk. There are a couple of good news. There are a couple of bad news in the middle of these videos. But I try to give you a perspective on what is happening across the world. Something more than the entire World Cup noise and what is happening in the United States. That to me, honestly, it's all noise. I'm boycotting the World Cup, if you don't know this, because I don't agree with it. It's not just because it's being held in the United States. It's also because of the corruption of FIFA. They're stealing the spectacle of football that should be for the people. They are stealing that from us and transforming it into that shit that they call a show. And to me that is not football. Okay, football to me is something very different. Football is also that thing that you play with your friends in the weekend, that you used to play in your neighborhood streets. That's football. Football is for the fans, and this World Cup, it's not for the fans. I know a couple of them that can go there, that can have a good time. Man, all good from me. But in my opinion, that is no longer the World Cup. But now, let's watch a couple of videos. Let's watch this.
Pope Leo XIV chose to mark July 4th on Saturday with a visit to Italy's Lampedusa Island, a major port of entry for migrants risking the dangerous journey from Africa to Europe. He pressed Europe to do more to protect migrants in a stark message to both EU and US leaders in a period of growing anti-immigration rhetoric.
L'Europa possiede un potenziale unico che le deriva dalla sua storia e dalla sua cultura e quindi una pari responsabilità. Per la sua posizione geografica e per il suo assetto istituzionale, l'Europa è in grado, in quest'area, di affrontare la crisi in modo organico, inserendo il primo soccorso in un piano strategico di lungo periodo, capace di accogliere, proteggere, promuovere e integrare i migranti.
The Pope prayed at the unmarked graves of shipwreck victims and paid homage to those who died crossing the water. He also stood alone on the island's rocky shoreline where countless migrant boats have been lost to the waves.
Now, I am perfectly aware that a lot of people will say this is a gesture without any kind of importance. This has nothing of influence in the world. This is just good words and nothing more. But I'm going to tell you that no. The leader of the Catholic Church that has had all of its issues that it has, we all know what the issues are. Like any big institution, now you look at the American presidency, the current president, he's a pedophile. Yes, I will say this, I'm not monetized, so I don't really care. But the fact is, he's being accused of being a pedophile. And when he was in his golden years, he used to go into the dressing room of underage girls and watch them and talk with them and be a pervert. And that's not even acceptable when you are a male and you go into an adult woman's dressing room. That is not even acceptable if you are an adult. When we are talking about children, because I don't care about opinions about this shit. Okay? If it's a girl, if she's underage, you as a male adult, you have a set of rules that you have to follow, and you have a set of rules that you have to obey. You have to act like a man, not like a bloody pervert. And that man is a pervert. But as I was saying, let me be clear about this. This gesture, it's very important. Because this sends a sign to each and every Catholic in this world. I was raised Catholic. I have talked about my religious experience, okay? I'm not going to bother you with it again. I was raised both pagan and both Catholic. But if you ask me, are you Catholic? Well, I will have to say yes. Why not? And in the church, now talking about this, in the church, I only had good experiences. I was never harassed. Okay? I was never uncomfortable in any situation. I learned music. I learned history. I learned philosophy. I learned theology because I had interest in religious history. I was explained a lot of the things in this world and in politics. A lot of what I'm saying right now comes from knowing, from having those stepping stones into the person that I am today. So the Catholic Church is very important. It creates still to this day a cement in society. And if the leader of the Catholic Church goes to this place and does this, it has a meaning. And also you have to understand this, because this is very important. It's not just talking. During the times of the former Pope, he asked the Portuguese Catholic Church. He asked the leader of our bishop to take in people, and he took in an entire village of Syrian refugees. More than half of them were Christian. The other ones were Kurds. Because if you don't know this, Kurds, because of the way that they interpret the Islamic faith, they are sometimes persecuted by other faiths. They are persecuted by the Shiite and the Sunni. They have rules that are completely different from other religions. For example, in traditional Kurd society, women are not covered. This is an example. And these people were neighbors. These people were people that were living together. And so to allow them to stay together, and these weren't many people, okay? I think they were 120 persons or something like that. Okay, this is not an entire village, no. But these are people that were living in the mountains and protecting themselves from the Islamic State. This was during those times. And the Pope arranged for them to be able to come here, and they are living here somewhere. I lost track of it a couple of years ago, okay? But last time they were living and working in the South Alentejo region here in Portugal, in the city of Beja, if you are interested in that. They were lodged in Catholic colleges. Then they were integrated into society. These are people that are working and living here. And to me, why should I bother about that? So you have to understand this. The Catholic priest, the Catholic faith, it's not what, for example, those lunatics, those religious lunatics in the United States, most of them Baptists, but a couple of them Catholics, create. It's a faith that basically tells you to try to help other people, try to treat other people with decency, and not be an asshole. This is basically what it is, okay? Trying to transform this into some kind of, like those lunatics, like people like J.D. Vance do, trying to transform this into the religious mark of Western society and blah blah. Shut the fuck up, J.D. Vance. You converted to Catholicism because your wife is rich and Catholic. And you have half-brown children. So you should not be supporting this shit. You should not be making your own children a target. Even if I was the greatest racist in this world, if I married a black woman or a dark-skinned woman and I had children with her, I would change my mind pretty quickly. I'm not, okay? If I had brown children, they would be my children nonetheless. But do not transform the Catholic Church into this media monster. They have issues, yes. We have to correct them, yes. But let's not, I hate to see people bash the Catholic Church when I see the good that they do in the world. They do a lot of bad. Yes, of course they do. What? Tell me, name me one institution that has not have these issues. Correct. Yes, wake up. Jesus was brown. Yes, he was. He was from the Middle Eastern region, so he was probably as brown as any Palestinian today. He was that type of person. And look, I want you to look at these news. I want you to see the gesture that the Pope is doing, and consider the effect this has. This is telling a Catholic bureaucrat somewhere in Brussels. Imagine a Portuguese representative. Imagine a Spanish representative. This is just an example, okay? But imagine this person. When they are voting in something, they are going to think about this gesture. It's going to remind them the duties that you have as a Christian. My dad, today is the birthday of his death, of my father's death. My father was a true Christian. And when he was describing what a Catholic, a Christian means, he resumed this to a really very simple term. He said this: my son, Catholic is not known for his words. A Catholic is known for his actions, how he acts, how he behaves in the world. This is how you can tell who is a Catholic Christian. This is how you can tell it. And that, my friends, that stuck with me. If you want to ask, well, you were raised in those two religions, which part of Christianity sticks with you? This is it. Jesus didn't say, just save this person, or just aid this person, or just do this to this. No. He said, help yourselves. Help other people. Be nice. Be decent. Don't profit on religion. A great sin. This is what he said. And it hurts me and it disgusts me to see those people in the United States talking about Christianity in the way they talk, and then they have the Confederate flag on their goddamn cars, and they run around insulting dark-skinned people, insulting transgender people, insulting gay people. You want to know what Jesus would have done if he was here right now today? He would take those transgender, those gay people, and he would give him a hug. He would tell them, it's all right. You are who you are. This is what he would have done. He would not have spit in his faces. He would not be standing in the front of a clinic that does abortions when women are going through a traumatic experience, and you have idiots outside telling them they are going to go to hell. Who the fuck are they? Who the fuck are these people to tell other people why they are doing what they are doing? Do you know why that woman is doing an abortion? Look, if you talk with me, to me, rape, misformation, to me, those are valid options. Those are valid options for an abortion. And also, the third one is this: it's not my body. If a woman needs or wants to have an abortion, it's her right. Who the fuck am I? And you see this spectacle like I have seen recently, with posters and come to Jesus and come to Jesus. You're not preaching Christianity. You are preaching Satanism. Wake up and smell the rosemary is singing here. And if Jesus come back, he would be crucified again. There is a song. I don't recall the name of the body count. Body count. There is a song about that body count has, and that he says he talks about the situation in LA, and then in one of the parts of the songs he says, if Jesus came back from to the world, he would be shot in the head. If Jesus came back right now, the same thing that happened to Preti, that was helping a woman that was lying on the floor, being assaulted by armed men, that would be what would happen to him. Because that is the nature of the world that we live in. And this is why I'm going to save this to the end of the stream to talk about my birthday message to the United States. Now, let's change this a bit. Now let's talk a bit about tech, and let's watch a video that I found it interesting. That is this: the world's largest digital camera starts mapping the universe. Something that I think will be very interesting in the days to come. Let's watch this video, folks.
There's good reason to believe that there could be a ninth planet out there beyond the dwarf planet Pluto that used to be further in the solar system but has been kicked out during the development of the solar system. If Planet 9 exists, then it's out there somewhere in the Kuiper Belt, and under certain conditions, if it has certain properties, then Ruben should be able to see it, which would be very exciting.
Right. Sorry for the sound. I had a bit of an issue here, but it was the clip itself. Let me just... Now, folks, this is also very important. We need to look at the world, and we need to get our heads a bit out of the dirt, so to speak, and to see that the world continues to evolve. Okay, we are not standing still. Things continue to happen, and look, and what I have to tell you is this: science continues to evolve, at least in Europe, even if it's being defunded in the United States, in Europe, in China. Science is continuing to go. Okay, the world is going to continue to turn, no matter what happens in the United States, and I feel a bit frustrated with the world right now because, like I was saying in the beginning of the stream, all you hear about is World Cup and the United States and this and that. And you want to know? Let's watch this one. Let's watch this one because this one is interesting. Let's watch so that if you are an American and you are watching this, let's watch how your unemployment levels are acting and how ours here in the EU are acting. Let's watch this video.
Fresh employment figures released on Thursday expose a diverging trajectory for the world's most prominent advanced economies as severe hiring slowdowns in the US contrast with historic resilience in European labor markets. According to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, non-farm payrolls increased by a mere 57,000 in June, This figure drastically missed market expectations, which had anticipated an addition of 113,000 jobs, and it marks a steep decline from the 172,000 positions created in the previous month. Despite the sharp cooling in overall job creation, the US unemployment rate unexpectedly ticked down to 4.2%, representing a slight improvement from the 4.3% recorded in May. Across the Atlantic, the European employment landscape continues to demonstrate remarkable steadfastness. According to data published by Eurostat, the Eurozone unemployment rate remained stable at 6.2% in May, holding firm at a record low for the currency bloc. This figure perfectly aligns with market projections and underscores the enduring tightness of the European job market, even as broader economic uncertainties linger across the continent.
I showed you this video right now. First of all, let me just answer here in the chat. Wake up and smell the rosemaries. Is the world evolving though? Humanity isn't, I fear. A good question. Some of us are evolving, but some of us are going back. If we look across the pond, we see people going back. We see pettiness, we see stupidity, and we see ignorance. But then, I go out in the streets. I listen to people, some of them foreigner, some of them from my country, and I think we are evolving. Now, will our evolution rate be enough to thwart this retro evolution that is happening? That is the question. But what I can see from the perspectives of what we are seeing in the future, I'm seeing Europe evolving, and I'm seeing the United States falling back. I'm seeing China evolve. I have watched a couple of videos about China. They also have their issues. And I'm watching people evolve. I'm watching things change. And I'm not just talking about gadgets. I'm talking about the way people think. Fortunately, I am seeing the new generations right here to think more like I do, meaning don't meddle with other people's business. And far less people that I knew as I was growing up and that are still around, far people that think like the Americans do, controlling other people's life, interfering into other people's business. And when I'm saying this, let's not stop beating around the bush. Let's stop beating around the bush, okay? Let's stop beating around the bush and let's say things as they are. I see a lot of people younger than me and of the same age that I am who don't give a fuck about if someone is transgender or gay. They are far more concerned in having a job, in having a house, in taking care of their families, in having a future. They are not wasting time with that shit. And this is extremely important because this will remove the power from those movements that are going backwards. And as Wake Up is saying here in the chat, if you're not seeing the chat, folks, I advise you to please pop up the box and watch what people are saying, because a lot of people that are talking here in the chat, they know a lot more about some things than I do, and they can help you also to understand them. We live in a kleptocratic oligarchy. She's talking about the UK. Okay? And it's very important for the British citizens to understand that. You need to understand that your country is not going... Look, I'm not I'm not saying you need to join the European Union to this and that. First of all, you have to correct your own country, your own union. It's not a country, it's a union. Sorry. First of all, you need to correct your own union. You need to correct the issues that you have. You need to stop blaming foreigners for what is happening in your country and finding scapegoats. The Muslim scapegoat, I don't know, the foreign scapegoat. Because the time that you are wasting doing that shit, people like Nigel Farage get £5 million from a guy that is living in Thailand, that is making a lot of money, and that is still trying to transform your country, into a peasant republic. You know what a peasant republic is? You are all peasants, and then there is something above you ruling. And I'm not talking about the king. The king is a part of it. And you can keep your king. A lot of modern democracies in Europe have kings. And they work. Why would yours not work? But you need to clean it. You need to clean it up. This technology leap, okay, that I talked in the previous video, the United Kingdom could be a part of this. And there is still some cooperation with Portuguese universities, for example. I know it still exists. These are things that have been happening literally for centuries. Literally. Yes, thank you, Billy. Richard Harborn, the crypto dude. Yeah. But like Wake Up is also saying here in the chat, fascism is on the rise here tragically. Yes, it is. And don't think that you don't have those movements right here in Europe too. The issue here is that we still have rules and regulations that allow a certain control over those groups. The AFD, it's being proposed in the European Parliament to ban their MPs. They're in hot waters with Germany too. Because the German constitution, just like the Portuguese constitution, okay, we have a specific clause, article in our constitutions that absolutely bans the existence of fascist and authoritarian regimes. It's in the law. If they start tooting their horn to that specific path, they are going to be constitutionally illegalized. And the AFD, they are pretty close of being illegalized. You don't see a lot of that in the news, right? Well, I just saw it this morning in Euronews. I would advise you to subscribe to them, okay? They have a lot of good stuff. Now, folks, let's continue. And let's talk about some very good news. And the good news is this. The EU Court of Justice has just rejected Google's appeal against the record 4.1 billion euros fine. Let's watch it.
The European Court of Justice on Thursday upheld Google's record 4.1 billion euros fine over alleged anti-competitive practices related to the company's Android operating system. The European Commission hit the US tech giant with a penalty in 2018, alleging that the firm had abused its dominant market position, particularly by using pre-installation agreements with phone makers to give an unfair advantage to its search engine and Chrome browser. An initial fine of 4.3 billion euros was imposed, but the EU's General Court reduced this to 4.1 billion euros in 2022. Google CEO Sundar Pichai has argued that the Android system has created more choice, not less. In 2025, the Commission also slapped Google with a 2.95 billion euros fine over alleged breaches of antitrust practices. It said the company had distorted competition in the advertising technology industry, favoring its own online display advertising technology services to the detriment of competing providers of advertising technology services, advertisers, and online publishers.
Now, I know what a lot of people is going to say. A lot of people are going to say, what? 4.1 billion euros, that's loose change for Google. I know what you are going to say. But if you say that, you don't really understand how the so-called continental law works. Because around here, law does not work that way. You first apply a low bar fine, unless it's something absolutely atrocious. And then, if the situation continues, you continue to increase the fine. And then it reaches a point, usually at the strike 3, in which the company is completely banned from operating or suspended. So right now, Google, they got this fine. They have more fines, not just from the European Commission, from other countries in Europe, accumulating. And they are appealing them. And they are getting rejected. And they are going to get rejected in each and every appeal they do. Because they are not right. Because we don't like monopolies here in Europe. It's bad for business. Who would think about it, eh? United States, the pinnacle, the top dog of capitalism, allows this shit to happen. And the socialist Europeans don't allow it. This should tell you a lot about how capitalism is interpreted in Europe or in the US. Imagine this. I am going to give you, yes, completely unregulated in the UK. Wake up and smell the rosemaries. Absolutely right. The UK has a big issue with this. This is another thing you're going to have to deal with. But I'm going to give you an example so that you understand. The first time a person is caught drinking and driving here in Portugal, if it's a crime, meaning if it's above the threshold of if it's not a simple fine, if it's about the threshold in which it's considered a crime, that person goes to a court. And usually, if it's the first time, they will go to the DA. The DA will propose a fine and an inhibition of driving any motorized vehicles in the street, in public streets, and that will be it. The first time, if it's not very serious. The second time, you go before the judge. And you are not going to get away with the minimum fine. You might get arrested. You might get a suspended penalty. Such time, usually, statistically, I think around 80% of the defendants get arrested. And it's more than that. The minimum time you can be without your license, but it's not just your car license, okay? It's the permission to drive any kind of motorized vehicles in public roads. The first time, the minimum is always three months. Minimum 3 months. If you go there for a second time, you are not going to get 3 months. You are going to get 4, 5, usually 6 months. If you go there a third time, you might lose your license altogether. and be forced to go take the driving skills lessons again, go and pay for a new license. And sometimes you may be completely forbade of driving. Why did I talk about this? So that you understand how these fines to Google and to X and to Facebook and all of this work. This is the first time. Second time, twice worse. Third time, we might not let you work in our business. We might not allow you to do your business in Europe again. You might get suspended. You might get completely forbade. And if you think any American House Commission is going to change that, then you are as delusional as Donald J. Trump. You are as delusional and stupid as he is. Because we don't give a... I'm going to swear. We don't give a fuck about what the Americans decide. Because this is our house. This is Europe. Cradle of civilization, of Western civilization. Okay? This is Europe. This is not some colonial fever dream that today they decided they wanted to be independent. They were going to create a free nation that still had slavery for centuries, or at least 100 years. When we abolish slavery here, we abolish it immediately. And if you go and watch your history, and I would advise you to do that, just go and see when did Portugal, for example, abolish slavery. And then go and see when the United States did it. And when I mean abolish slavery, when we abolished slavery here, it was completely abolished, okay? There was no segregated this or segregated that. It ended, period. I'm not going to tell you that it was all dandelions and Edelweiss after the people were stopped when having slaves was completely forbade. I'm not going to tell you that because that's ridiculous, that's stupid, and we all know things don't work this way. But however, under the law, it ended completely. We did not have segregated apartheid like buses, schools, even fucking drinking fountains and bathrooms like the Americans did in the South. We never had that shit. They tried to do that in our former colonies. They called them the overseas provinces. But it did not fare too well with the white population. Because the white population itself saw that as a complete and utter despicable act. This is who we are. We have our problems, we have our issues, but we are not that thing across the pond. They have nothing to do with us. They keep saying, my grandfather came from Ireland. Well, I'm Irish. Oh, go fuck yourself. I'm also more German and French than I am Portuguese. However, I am a Portuguese citizen. I speak the languages, but, well, I also speak English, and I speak 5 more, and a couple of more to a regular level. What does... Oh, look, let me try... Explain this to me. Explain this to me, please. I have German bloodlines in both sides of my family. In the side of my dad, they are a bit more distant. Okay, these are people that came in the 1600s as soldiers, as those type of people, even noblemen. Okay, I also have some noble blood, but the noble blood is on my mom's side. Okay, they came to a town where you already had also people that were descendant of French farmers that came here to Portugal even before that time, and they all got together in that region, and that is where my father's family comes from. On my mother's side, her grandmother was still born in East Prussia, German. And the husband of her grandmother, okay, he was also part German. He was the grandson of Germans. And all of those Germans mixed in with the Portuguese, and here I am, your red man. Okay, but let me tell you this: who am I? Who am I? I have a lot of German culture in my way. The way that I'm dealing with this day that I'm living, and if you go back to the beginning of the stream, you will understand why. I'm not going to go over it because I'm trying to keep my mind out of it. The way that I'm dealing with this right now, with my day today, it's very German. And I have a lot of German in me. In the way I act, in the way I speak, even in all of it. But fundamentally, I am Portuguese. This is who I am. I'm a South Portuguese person that lives in Portugal. I am not German. I am not bloody German. If you want to quote my grandfather, well, my grandfather used to say, "We are Prussians, that is all." This is what my grandfather used to say. So if you don't want to call me Portuguese, you don't want to call me German, then call me Prussian. But like I said, I think I've spoken about this in another stream or in a video even. I once met an American person, a group of Americans that I was talking with, and they were talking about ancestry and this and that, and they asked me, okay, and I said pretty much this. I said, well, I have a lot of German and French and Portuguese, of course. Oh, so you are, and this is what the American told me. He was trying to get a reaction out of me, which is not very easy. Okay, he was a bastard, basically, an unpolite bastard that was nothing like the other American people that were in that table when we were talking. Okay, there were other American people in that table. They were very nice, polite people. Okay, so not every American is an idiot, but he was trying to get the right. So, and he told me this, and I will never forget something like this. Okay, because after all, after these years, I really don't care about it. But he said, "Oh, he told me this. So you are a German that has a sense of humor and of fashion. You understand the sense of humor from the Portuguese side, the sense of fashion from the French side, and I was a German." I really had to control myself, but I just looked at him and proceeded to completely ignore him. Because I had, unlike him, I did not want the other American people that were in that table. We were a lot of people of many nationalities. I didn't want those people that were nice to feel unwelcome, because it was a festive occasion. Not going to talk about it, but it was a party. Let's call it like this. This is the mindset of these lunatics. This is Trump. These are the idiots that say they are more Irish than the Irish because they went away and now Ireland has fallen. These are the people that are unable to understand the world change. The world changes. Cultures are not these holy goats standing in the darkness, always immutable. We are not that. We are people. We are a product of the world in which we live in. And they are completely barred in time. But I'm going to, then I have been talking about, I told myself I would do it in the end of the stream, but apparently I decided to talk about it. But let's continue. Now, right now, let me just read the chat. Sorry, wake up. I'm working, and I live in South Portugal. I'm serious, okay? I'm serious. Yes, I'm a European. Thank you very much. Thank you. Correct. And the British, you are all Europeans too. Okay? If you are a Scottish person, if you are a Welsh person, an Irish person, an English person, you are European, just like we are. This is why Brexit is so stupid. This is why people like Farage and people like Rupert Lowe, this is why all of those people, that are a bunch of fucking lunatics, are fucking idiots, going around painting English flags everywhere. Do you think that's an appropriate way of dealing with things? Is this how you promote your culture? By harassing someone just because he prays to a different god than you, or because they have a different shade of melanin? You don't like them, then leave them a fuck alone. Is it this hard? Is it this hard to understand that you can avoid dealing with people, and that all you have to do is to maintain civility in society? That if you go to, I don't know, if you go to a public office and the person that is in the other side is a black person, that even if you don't like black persons for whatever the fuck reason, all you have to do is to be polite with that person and demand that the person is polite with you too. Is this so hard to understand? Is it so hard to understand the need to live in society and to deal with difference? Have you watched those hybrid dogs? You know, the ones that piss and shit in themselves and fall into the carpet? Would you rather be one of those, or would you rather be the mixed dog that plays around with you and that likes to play with your children? Would you like to be that dog or that idiot dog? Humans are animals. This is what we are. What makes a difference in us is our culture. Cultures. And cultures grow. Cultures change. Cultures get better. Cultures get worse. It's life. We have to deal with it. Now, folks, I had a lot to show you, but let's watch a couple of news right now that, let me just, yes, this one is always good. Let's talk a bit about renewable energies. This is a piece in Euronews that I found very interesting. It's a short one, but it's really good news about what is happening right now in Europe when it comes to renewable energies and how quick we are moving to a different future. A future that hopefully will not have these damn heat waves because of oil consumption and all of the shit that we have been doing to our planet. Folks, let's watch this video. These are good news.
The EU's share of electricity generated from renewables keeps growing. In the first quarter of 2026, it reached 45.5% of the total electricity generated, new Eurostat data reveals. Wind led the way, covering 44.9% of the total renewable electricity, followed by hydropower at 28% and solar at 17.3%. The remainder came from combustible renewable fuels, geothermal, and other energy sources. Denmark leads with the highest share of electricity from renewable sources in the EU at 90%, mostly wind power. Portugal ranks in second place at 82.9%, thanks to an abundance of hydropower, followed by Lithuania, another wind leader, with 75.7%. At the other end of the spectrum, the countries benefiting least from the green transition are Czechia, with 12.7% of its electricity generated from renewables, Malta and Slovakia. Investment in renewables is helping to slash greenhouse gas emissions and reduce energy bills at a time when gas prices are at an all-time high. The EU saved more than 50 billion euros in 2025 by decreasing fossil fuel imports, according to the International Energy Agency.
Now, before going into the video, I'm going to read this comment because it's very important by Wake Up and Smell the Rosemaries. My point is that yes, we need scientists, but there is a massive demand for critical thinkers and linguistics questioning things. Absolutely correct. You need people to talk and to discuss things, because from discussion comes understanding and comes new ideas. The fact that we are right here online and that, folks, I'm very sorry. No, I cannot answer. It's a call from a family member, but I will talk with them. The fact that we are right here discussing all of these things, that we I'm sorry, but if you know from the beginning of the stream, I went to, this morning I went to drop a family member at the hospital, and it was a call, but it was my brother. I'm going to talk with him after after we end the stream. Today I'm going to end the stream before 7 because of that. Okay? But let me continue. It's very important to have a discussion of ideas. It's very important for people to meet face to face or even online, okay, and talk about things. Because when you are talking with someone, you are doing two things. You are questioning yourself and you are learning something. One of the reasons why, from a very young age, besides the obvious family reasons, one of the reasons why I started to talk and to learn how to speak and how to talk in different languages, it was this need that I had to understand other people, to understand other realities. I was always fascinated by it. I'm sorry, folks. Folks, I'm very sorry. I'm going to have to stop the stream right now. I have an emergency, a family emergency. Folks, I am very sorry. I will try to do the stream again tomorrow. Thank you very much for coming, and I hope to catch you all in the next one. I'm very sorry. I'm sorry, but this is an emergency situation.